a dream come true, and a call for improvement. As a longtime fan of Suikoden, I've always dreamed of a new entry in the series since the release of Suikoden 5 in 2005. With Konami's direction at the time and the disbanding of the Suikoden team, I had given up on that dream. But then, in 2020, a miracle happened. The original creator, Yoshitaka Murayama, reunited with his team to create a spiritual successor to Suikoden, Eiyuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes. As a fan, I was over the moon. I immediately supported the game on Kickstarter, contributing to the impressive $4.5 million raised, which showed the demand and faith in Rabbit and Bear Studios, and the talented team behind it, Yoshitaka Murayama, Junko Kawano, Junichi Murakami, Osamu Komuda, and more. With such a well-established team, I had high hopes. But as much as I wanted this game to be everything Suikoden fans dreamed of, I feel like there were areas that missed the mark. And it's important to offer this feedback with a genuine heart, hoping the developers can use it to make Eiyuden Chronicle 2 even better. The story. The story in Eiyuden Chronicle felt lighter than I expected. As a huge fan of Murayama's work on Suikoden 1 and 2, I was hoping for something more emotionally impactful. Suikoden was known for its themes of war, betrayal, and sacrifice, deep, compelling narratives that stuck with you. In Eiyuden Chronicle, the story plays it safe. There are no shocking betrayals or deep, tragic moments that make you feel the weight of war. While I understand that every game is different, I believe this is an area that could be enhanced. I'm sure Murayama wanted to bring something amazing to life, and he engaged with the fans on Discord, taking feedback and inspiration. Yet, I can't help but feel that something might have held the team back, whether it was 505 Games' involvement, rating issues, or Murayama's health concerns. The foundation was there with interesting concepts like the primal lenses, but they didn't fully achieve the emotional depth Suikoden brought. I hope the narrative can be more impactful in Eiyuden Chronicle 2, with a focus on the deeper aspects of war, loyalty, and betrayal. The mechanics. The battle system, with its dynamic camera angles and elevation-based positioning, was one of the game's most exciting aspects during the Kickstarter campaign. But in the final game, the battles feel too slow. The animations, especially when enemies are defeated, take too long, and the back row moving forward disrupts the flow. In contrast, Suikoden felt much faster, with simultaneous attacks and quick pacing. Additionally, the AI battle plans are confusing and often unhelpful. I understand the effort to make things complex, but the combo attacks, while visually appealing, don't really add much value in practice. The magic system also felt underwhelming, both visually and functionally. There's potential here, especially with the SP system, but I believe it wasn't fully explored. It's clear that a lot of work went into these mechanics, but they didn't quite reach their full potential. I hope these areas are polished and enhanced in the next installment. War Battle's more a major disappointment for me. I much preferred the grid-based system from Suikoden 2. While scripted, it was easy to understand. The war battles in Eiyuden Chronicle, on the other hand, were confusing and lacked the clarity that made Suikoden 2's battles engaging. This is an area that needs more refinement, and I hope the team can focus on making the war battles more intuitive and meaningful in the future. Duels. I genuinely appreciated the visuals in the duels. The sprite work and camera angles were excellent. However, the system itself felt a bit shallow. I was hoping for more depth and variety in these one-on-one battles, especially since they were advertised as a unique feature. The promised negotiation mechanics were not as impactful as I had hoped, and I feel this is another area that could be significantly improved. Headquarters. One of the standout features of Eiyuden Chronicle was the headquarters system. I absolutely loved the idea of using materials to develop the city and the tree system that tied everything together. The implementation of giving characters roles within the city was brilliant, and it's clear the team put a lot of effort into this feature. While some characters felt a bit underused, the overall design of the headquarters was a strong point, and it's one of the things I believe the developers nailed. This was a really satisfying part of the game. Minigames. Theater. This minigame was fantastic. The writing was great, the voice acting was on point, and it was one of the most enjoyable aspects of the game. Card game also a fun addition. It worked well and was enjoyable to play. Fishing, unfortunately, this was a letdown. The mechanics are too simplistic. Just press X when the fish bites. There's no real interaction, and the lack of background music made it feel empty. Cooking. I was really looking forward to this minigame, but it didn't live up to expectations. It didn't have the same charm as Suikoden's cooking system, and there were several bugs at launch. Bigama. While I appreciated the effort put into the writing and pixel art, the mechanics were tedious, making this minigame frustrating rather than fun. Eggleg Racing, while I did enjoy the name Eggleg over Eggfoot, the mechanics didn't capture my interest, and the change of name felt like a missed opportunity. World Map. I liked the world map design. It had a sense of adventure and a journey ahead. However, it lacked excitement in terms of exploration. The map could have been more dynamic. Visuals. The art direction was great overall. The sprite work was fantastic, and the world map cities and dungeons looked visually appealing. However, in some areas I felt it lacked polish, perhaps due to budget constraints. The NPCs in the cities felt static, unlike Suikoden 2, where characters moved around, interacted, and made the world feel alive. It would have been great to see more dynamic interactions with NPCs in the game. The magic system, while functional, lacked visual impact. Status effects like sleep and poison weren't visually represented on characters, which made them feel disconnected from the gameplay. I also noticed that after Noah Village was invaded, there was no visible change to the environment. This lack of impact made the events feel less significant, and I would love to see the developers create more convincing and reactive environments in Eiyuden Chronicle 2. Music. The music, unfortunately, didn't leave a lasting impression. While there were a few standout tracks like Aronside, Yarnan, Battle Theme, and Flags of Brave, the rest of the soundtrack felt forgettable. What bothered me most was the repeated use of the same music in different locations. For example, Noah Village didn't have its own unique theme, and after it was burned, the music remained unchanged. I had hoped for a more varied and distinctive soundtrack for each area, where each location had its own unique theme. Bugs. Unfortunately, Eiyuden Chronicle was plagued by bugs at launch. There were several issues with the game crashing, save data getting corrupted, and gameplay mechanics not triggering as they should. The cooking minigame, for example, was riddled with bugs that affected the enjoyment of that feature. These technical issues were frustrating and took away from the overall experience, especially considering the high expectations set by the Kickstarter campaign. I understand that no game is perfect at launch, but it felt like some bugs should have been ironed out before release. Hopefully, the next game can avoid these kinds of technical problems. Localization. One area where Eiyuden Chronicle could have used more care is in the localization. I'm not fully familiar with the intricacies of the translation process, but I strongly believe that the localization should stick closely to the creator's original vision and the personalities of the characters. Sometimes, it felt like the translation altered the tone or intent of certain lines, which can shift the experience in ways that weren't intended. When you're adapting a story, especially one with such deep roots in character and world building, it's important to preserve the essence of what the creators wanted to convey. I think this is an area where future updates or sequels could really improve.